첫 번째 연사는 캄브리아의 툭 부인데요. 캄브리아를 간략하게 설명드리면 캄브리아는 지금 저희 되게 생소한 이 앞에 저희 로봇 있지 않습니까? 이 로봇을 만들려면 상당히 시간도 많이 걸리고 되게 여러 공정이 필요하다고 해요. 근데 캄브리아는 블록체인을 이용해서 탈중앙화를 통해서 좀 더 효율적으로 로봇을 만들 수 있고 관리할 수 있는 그런 솔루션을 제공하고자 합니다. 그러면 저희 캄브리아의 CEO인 툭부가 나올 때 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. Welcome, Mr. 툭부.
Hi, thank you. All right, hello everyone. I hope you guys are not too hungry yet. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great honor and pleasure to be here. Speaking to with Hash and with such a great audience. So we would like to tell you a bit about our project, Cambria, which we're trying to build the AI and robotics platform of the future. If you think about consumer robots, right? Usually people would imagine something very cute and useful, can do different tasks, like the picture shown here. But in fact, in reality, if you think about the capabilities of robots, especially in the home, the capabilities are still very limited, right? We only have toys robot or something like a vacuum cleaner. All the other stuff like the Pepper or the Asimo, they're way too expensive for the value that they can bring to the end consumer. And so no one really has cracked the $1 trillion market of consumer robot yet. The truth is, robotics development is actually very hard, right? It's actually slow, expensive, take a team of many different expertise, and you need manufacturing, you need prototyping, all of that. And the result is there are very few big companies have the technology. For example, SoftBank, Toyota, Boston Dynamics, right? And the rest, everyone is trying to reinvent the wheel. Not much of technology is being shared across different projects. And so we know because we went through the same journey, and we figured out that 85% of all the effort by the teams are reinventing the wheel. So what we want to do is we want to propose a new kind of platform, kind of like an open source like Android and Linux, which has massive impact social and globally. But the traditional open source, they do have shortcomings, right? It takes a long time for Android or Linux to gain the necessary momentum. But also they have a lot of issues like the free rider, people using the technology without contributing back, or the first mover incentive. How do you get those first developers to be on the platform? So so this is how we design our platform with blockchain and crypto economics to really align all the incentive of people on the platform to overcome these challenges. So a little bit segue into game theory. So game theory is actually one of my research back at my PhD at Stanford. So that's something that really drawn me to this whole space of crypto and blockchain, because it's like we can design a new game that people can play that will actually dictate a different outcome. So if you think about the robotic world, if you will, you can model it as a prisoner dilemma game, right? So prisoner dilemma is when people have two options, either cooperate or defect, and the Nash equilibrium is always defect, right? So that's the best choice. It's the same as in the robotics world. The best choice for a company is always to just keep the technology secretive and not contributing back. However, because of the blockchain and crypto economics, we can design a new game now. It's a repeated game in which we can enforce certain outcome using what we call grim trigger strategy, so that the cooperation is the way for people to work together, and that's a better outcome for everyone. So with this, we can come up with a brittle optimal Nash equilibrium with the cooperation between different companies in this new game that we designed with Cambria. So with that, we can build an AI and robotic future in which when developers want to build new robots, they can really easy use all the existing technology from the platform, whether it's a plant watering robot or food delivery or robot to fold laundry or picking up garbage. Instead of having to reinventing the wheel, they can just pick off the existing technology from the platform and build it together. So introducing Cambria. Cambria is the open robotics platform that we are developing. So Cambria has 5 different components. At the core of Cambria is something we call code-based, KDNA, which, let me see if so code-based KDNA, which is the open platform that would include all the hardware, firmware, software, AI, everything that you need to build and run a robot. And then we support it with an alliance called Cambria Manufacturing Alliance, which allow people to prototype and produce this robot very quickly. And then on top of that, we have an innovation marketplace. It's just like an X Prize or the DARPA challenge, right? So basically, it's a way for people to come up with innovation, either through putting out bounties or kind of like do like a GoFundMe project. And the other 2 components that we put on Cambria is one is for fair use and legal protection. So think of it as we call it a proof of violation. So basically, we allow the community to rally together to protect the innovation that developers can come up with that they put and share on Cambria. And then last but not least, an app store where people can use the token to acquire robotics technology or services. So you can read more about how the different components on the platform interact in the white paper. But I'm just going to walk you through a simple use case, right? So companies like McDonald's, because they're serving user, they see a lot of different opportunities and needs for robotics application. So now, because they want to, let's say they want to build a robot that can flip burger, right? So instead of build out a team, costing millions of dollars and several years to build out this robot, they can put a bounty on Cambria using our tokens and get a team of developers working to solve these challenges. Other backers, other token holders believe in this project. They can chip in as well, stake their token behind that project. And now they can have a team of developers around the world working together to solve, the robots that can flip burger. And the best technology will get incorporated onto the platform. The team would then win the tokens, for their technology. The technology will be shared and open between other people, so that companies can use it and provide services to the end user. All the value generated from the user will then get split between other developers and backers through the platform using smart contract. And so this is a way so that people can share the benefit of the technology that can come out of Cambria. So what are the competitive advantages of Cambria? So you might be wondering, why do we need a token, right? Why do we need our own tokens? So if you think about it, our own token is a way for us to bootstrap the community very quickly. So that instead of, let's say if we pay developers using fiat or even, Ethereum, the developers won't have the long-term incentive, to provide and maintain the code on the platform. And moreover, we can bring a lot of technologies onto the platform using our token. So let's say, there are a lot of good technology get hidden away, locked up in patents or research labs. For example, at Stanford, right? So if we go to Stanford, we say, hey, here's $100,000. Why don't you open your technology to the world to use? Stanford is not going to talk to us. It's too small for them. But if that 100,000 has potential to grow into $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, right? Now it's a very interesting conversation to them. So this way we can bootstrap not only the community, but also the technology platform. And then the network effect, of course, right? All token holders is ambassador of the platform. And everyone can bring the technology, think of different use cases and apply it, and really unlock different hidden market for robotics application. And then the other 2, we can address the existing challenges of open source project, such as a free rider or the first mover incentive. So what are we doing here is essentially centralizing and democratizing 5 things. One is robotic development. So no longer you need a full big lab of 20, 30 people to work on a project. You can really develop new technology just in your garage through our platform because you have everything there. You can download the robot and you can get us prototype for you. You really need to just focus on the 5% that would actually make a difference, that you're most passionate about. The second thing is technology ownership, right? So we believe that AI and robotics technology are way too important to just belong to a few big company, right? It should be owned by the community. And so all the token holders is essentially an owner of this technology. And then also manufacturing capability. So we have a new way of manufacturing the robots using 3D printing. And so that's for us, that's actually kind of like a factory in a box. So instead of having to set up big facility in China to make all these robots with injection molding, we can just have a very small facility, which I will show you in the video shortly, that allow us to prototype providing all these manufacturing services. And then we can also enforce collaboration. Every token holder is now essentially a whistleblower that makes sure that all the people are playing nice together. And last but not least, product monetization, right? One of the very big challenge of robotics in the consumer space is you need to find that killer app, and no companies have found that killer apps yet, because every different technology have different application, different markets has their own like needs, and so with Cambria, we allow any entrepreneur, any startups that you guys you can think of a new use case, then you can very quickly, instead of have to like raise $100 million and develop the robots, you can just go to Cambria, order exactly what you need, and try to crack open the market. So this way is really opened up so that there's a huge collaboration on both sides, from engineering to commercialization of robotic technology. So the way that we imagine this is we're starting out with telepresent robot, and we're adding more components and features on top of the robot, including arms that can manipulate objects and moving things in the world, and really try to tackle many different use cases. So we're gonna start open our first platform, which is a telepresent robot here, put it on Cambria and allow people to have fun with it and push for different technology. So our progress so far, we have built the best customizable and programmable telepresent robot in the world. We have more than 200 worldwide. So I think we are the only blockchain ICO project that actually have a physical product already in the market and selling. We already reached 10 generation of robot with less than $1 million spent in 2 years. This is unheard of in the space because of the way that we can manufacture the robot very, very interestingly. So let me show you a tour of our office and how we manufacture these robots.
Welcome to OmniLabs. We're excited to take you behind the scenes and show you how our robots are made. So one of the really unique things about us is that we make the bulk of our parts right here in California in-house. And so this is one of our
in Silicon Valley in
parts.
California.
You can see, for example, a part being printed here. This is the back cover of the neck. And you can see this filament coming down and getting melted, and almost like soft serve being squeezed and sort of built up layer by layer to make the parts with all sorts of geometry. And we print pretty much everything in the robot. You'll see all sorts of small parts. This is around the mounting area for the display. This is part of our drive, our motor drive system, and then part of the more tube mounting. This is part of the neck of the robot. And we actually make this process really optimized and as efficient as possible. So we even wrote our own web-based software here to control and sort of manage the entire fleet of printers. And for production, we have 2 cycles a day and a night cycle. And we have these carts that we've designed. These are sort of our Kanban carts. And in these carts, every part has a place. And we know what the print name is and whether it's a day or a night print. So we basically print and fill up these racks, and then we send them off to assembly, which is just 20 feet away. So we started there buying printers and modifying them for 24/7 use. But we actually now are moving to designing and building our own printers.
So these are we
This
build
allows
and
us to
design
improve on the
ourselves
process in
and
3
build them
key
using
ways.
3D printers
First,
as well.
we can design it to
So
our
we
needs.
3D
So for
print the
example,
3D
the build plate
printers.
is much larger, and now we can have one cycle a day instead of 2, and you can fit a lot more parts on the print, as you can see here. It also allows us to make things more precise over time, and makes operation and maintenance much easier. And over here, you'll see an example of one of our large format printers. This is where we can print huge sections of the robot in one shot. It gives us a lot of design flexibility. It allows us to eliminate a lot of assembly steps because we can print such large pieces in one shot. And so we're aiming to be the first company to really bring this process to massive scale for robotics, and we'll continue to be building out all these printers over time. Here we are over in our assembly and inventory area. So here you can see some of the inventory that we hold for every
So
robot.
we assemble, we
Parts
print out
come
the
in
parts
from
and then
the
all assemble
printing
them all
clusters.
in-house.
And then
Very
over
low
here, for example,
inventory
are all the PCBs.
because we
So
can
this is,
follow like the
brushless
just-in-time
motor controller
ordering.
that drives the wheels of the robot. And over here we have the assembly stations, and we try to optimize all of them for being as lean as possible and as ergonomic as possible. Here we are at the final stage. So these are the fully assembled robots waiting for final QA and delivery. And come back next time and we'll share with you all the cool things we're working on and what else we're adding to the robot.
Cool, thanks, Jared. So let's go. So let's see. So we've been around 2.5 years. We had really good press coverages. So all the majority of the big news outlets in the U.S. And the world. And we also building out a lot of different partnerships. So the idea is the way that we're going to build out the ecosystem by bringing in universities that are top in the robotics area and building out all these robotics labs so that they can work on Cambria, building new technology using Cambria, and they can contribute back to the platform. But also we bring in corporate partners who need all these robotics applications, but they can start using, they can put out bounties on Cambria to develop all this technology. So for our team, so I myself, my background is I did undergrad at Carnegie Mellon, PhD at Stanford. I have started and sold several companies, including one to Google. So for Omni Lab, we started in July 2015. And Jared actually was my roommate back then at Carnegie Mellon. We did a lot of research together, especially in the robotics space, and got along very well. And so we set out to really, we want the biggest vision is we want to make something useful for human, right? Not just like some robots in the factory that take away job, but really something in the world that providing value to people, improve the quality of everyday life. And our third co-founder, he's in Vancouver, worked with Jared very well, back then at his previous company. We have really strong leadership team as well. Most notably, we have a professor from Carnegie Mellon. Her name is Melo Veloso. She was the president of Triple AI for several years, head of machine learning at Carnegie Mellon, probably one of the top robot professor there. Very strong advisory board as well, with a lot of different faces, figures from the crypto world, but also the business world. So for our tokens, we're going to issue 5 billion tokens, and we want to raise with 25 million hard cap and 12 million soft cap. 50% of the token is going to be distributed in the token sale, but more importantly, they're going to be 20% of token that are going to be distributed to build the robotic community. So to us, the robotics community is also very important. Fund allocation. Okay, so let me show you another clip before we part ways. So this is the demo of the arm. We brought the arm here. The arm has many different use cases. And one of the use cases that we kind of play around with right now is water plane. So when we go away, the arm can continue to take care of the plants for us. So like an arm like this, high precision, high torque, is gonna be like around $10,000 in the market. But because we 3D print the parts and really build this using low cost hardware, but writing software to accommodate all the shortcoming of the hardware, we can build an arm like this for less than $500. This is like a totally game changer. All right, so sign up for our Telegram channel. Is the handler is Cambria Korea. So we create one just for you guys. And we're gonna give out these 3D printed logo. So we have 2 of these. And so if you sign up in the next half an hour, we're gonna pick 2 random people from the list and then give out this logo for you guys. So go to Cambria Korea. And I would like to introduce my co-founder, Jared Go, who'll give you some short demo. Ooh, it's hot here. Sorry.
All right, so we'll show a couple of different things. First is our robot here. So we can hold that.
So this is the robot that. So Jared is controlling it, and it's connected to the internet. So basically, you can control it from anywhere in the world as long as you have internet. And you're gonna have 2 ways, video and audio communication. So you can see the other side, you can hear them. You can go to the kitchen, you can stay in the living room. One of the biggest traction that we have so far is from family with aging parents and grandparents. And so you can put this in the home of your parents or grandparents and spend time with them just like you being there. So we had a lot of different packages that we are deploying on this. So for example, navigation using computer vision.
Yep. And so our idea is with the robots we design, we always start simple. So rather than being like Pepper is super complicated, it has so many joints, it costs like $20,000 when you add everything in. We start very simple and let people add what they want to it. So if we have a robot like this, oh, sorry. Hello, hello. Okay. So if we have a robot like this, people already come to us asking, hey, can I add a tray? Can I add the arm? Can I add special lights? I want it to be like a disco party or something. So we don't want to make all these different robots, but we want to empower people out there to do it themselves. So that's why it's so important that robotics is open. You shouldn't have to build your own motor controllers, your own, find your own battery, all that stuff to build really cool robotics applications. You really just need to build on top of a platform that's open and modifiable. So that's our belief, is robotics will be changed if that's the way that people do it, rather than this way is so, I don't know, to me, honestly, super annoying. It's all so closed today. Everyone is hiding everything. Once a company goes and spends, $100,000, $200,000 to develop a leg or an arm, they never want to give that away. And so Cambria is about bringing everyone together in the robotics community, sharing everything, and then being able to help a lot of people because of it. So.
Yeah, so we want to disrupt the way that robots are being developed right now in the world, and really create that collaborative environment so people can work together. Okay, should we also demo the arm? So this arm is actually can be controlled over the internet as well.
Using my phone to control here, so. And we make it really quiet, so we have some really powerful brushless motor technology. It should be able to lift itself. I don't know, you want to hold it? Yeah.
Okay, let me try.
Okay, try.
So this is gonna be like a really cool demo that we're planning. So basically, like a robot can do a pull-up, right? So this is the key for consumer robotics. Has to be has to be lightweight, and it has to be durable. I'm sorry, I slipped the string.
Yeah. So okay, that's a demo.
Thank you guys. So sign up for our Telegram.
Thank you very much. We're gonna have a question, so.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Any questions? If we were taking, any questions? Feel free. We're happy to talk about anything blockchain from our experience, or robotics or anything like that. So.
질문 있으시면 제가 마이크 가져다 드릴게요.
Hello, thanks so much for the talk. First one, was that inspired by the cobot? And second, how is Manuel Veloso helping you guys?
Cobot. So yes. So the idea is we want to build something that can be collaborate with human, right? To be staying alongside of a human. So Manuel Veloso was our advisor, and we were working with her on the Cobot idea, and she has a robot that was traveling 1,000 miles indoor, and that navigation package is going to be released on Cambria. And so the idea is, in her lab, they have a lot of cool tech, but she doesn't know how to commercialize it, right? It's just the same with other robotics in the world, But now, Cambria is a way for her to put it out so that other people can commercialize it, and she will get a share of the profit. And so that's really a game changer.
Are you also going to bring over how we chose its snake robot?
Yeah, well, if we see a good use case, yes, then we'll bring it up so that people can build.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're very familiar with like all these projects coming out of.
Class of 2011, so that's
Oh, really? All right, yeah. Cool. Good to see you.
Yeah, one thing interesting to add on to that. So the name Cambria comes from the Cambrian explosion. That's where there was all this increase in biodiversity on Earth. So our feeling is that if we can get the conditions right, then we can create that same kind of explosion. A lot of different companies trying this. I think as Thuc mentioned, the difference is instead of having to raise 5 or 10 million, which is really hard for any robotics company to raise that amount of money to deploy it on something they're not sure about, now they can try it for like 100K or something like that. That really changes what's possible, what you can try and do. So.
Yeah.
혹시 또 다른 질문 있으시면 마이크 드리겠습니다. Okay. I'll go back to you.
Hi, I have a question about your logistics. So,
Okay.
say I built an arm in the US and I have a leg in Thailand or something, and how do you put it together? It's just a really simple question.
Yeah, that's an awesome question.
Yeah.
So our thinking is that's why Cambria manufacturing is built on a set of manufacturing principles that can be replicated around the world. So unlike having to go to one factory in China, the goal is that you saw our printer farm, that kind of stuff is replicable around the world. And so we have partners already in different places, for example, Japan, who are interested in setting up that facility themselves and offer that to the local customers. So yeah, so the idea is if you design on Cambria, you should be able to get it made wherever you are in the world.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what we're gonna
yeah.
build on. Yes,
Yeah.
so basically a way for different components to talk to each other, right? And the API for hardware and software.
Yeah, and the idea for us is to eliminate a lot of the sort of supply chain and manufacturing hassle. Like for example, if I have a supplier here, you have a different supplier, we have to go look for that, every time there's a new part or anything. So the idea is make that uniform and everything becomes shareable around the world. Yeah. Yeah.
So right now, we're building out this robotics lab around the world. So we have 5 in the work already, and so we're gonna build a factory in the box next to the robotic lab so that people can get prototype and low volume production together. And if there's demand, right, then we can just crank up the volume there.
Okay, the gentleman there got a question.
All right. I want to talk about the friction between the blockchain world and the real world. I think the rewarding system for the backer and the developer is really important for the success of the platform. But at the same time, I think it might be possible for the companies or manufacturer companies that they can hide their sales volume so that they can pay less than what they are supposed to pay. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's always tricky to enforce that in the real world, even if you have legal contracts or anything. So the goal, I think, with us is to make it a crowdsourced movement so that it's not just like, for example, Linux, there's a lot of these GPL violations that no one can prosecute. There's no money in it. There's not enough stake in it. The goal is now every token holder, if you are withholding payments from the system, you are damaging the value of the token. And so our hope is that, you never want things to go to legal means, right? That's sort of the worst outcome. It creates enemies when that happens. But if you can show all the token holders in the community, maybe one day it's like, $1 billion worth of value is saying you are doing something wrong. then that's a really strong signal. And we want it to be better and easier just to pay the fee and come into compliance rather than have to, you know, hide and, you know, like not be part of this ecosystem, not have anyone like you or support you. So that's our sort of answer to that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, but also like, you know, if you think about it, right, the traditional way is everyone try to create the biggest margin as possible.
Yeah.
And so everyone's hiding all the stuff, right, and then charge, you know, as high as possible. But we say that's the wrong way to go. For us, the new disruptive way is to actually share that pie, right? So everyone share a little bit of a pie, but we make it, you know, we can move so fast, we can unlock a really big market. And so now the pie is way much bigger, and then everyone has like a big piece of it, right? Instead of, you know, you try to keep all the technology yourself. Yeah, so that's the way that we want to build this out.
Great question.
저 마지막 질문 한 개만 더 받겠습니다. 혹시 질문 있으신 분 계신가요? Okay, there's a question.
I have a question on the crypto side of the project. So you mentioned the token sale. Can you please elaborate on the role of this token in the Cambria platform and the crypto economics in game here?
Yeah, so the tokens can be used for several different utilities. So one is to acquire robotics service and robotics parts. So, you know, token holder can buy all of this with discount, early access. The second way is to facilitate all the transaction between different key stakeholders of the platform. So as if you're developers, right, then you can use a token to pay for manufacturing. And, you know, if you contribute the technology onto the platform, you also get paid in the token. As well as the licensing fee. You know, if people commercialize the technology, they will have to pay a licensing fee back to the platform in the form of the token. So this is the inflow, right, driving the demand of the token. And that licensing fee is going to be split between people who contribute to the project, the robots that are being used, whether you're backers or you're developers or, you know, you're the company that licensing out the technology. So everyone is going to share this profit together.
Thanks, guys. Really excited. Just want to ask, the robot builders of the future are in school now, and I've seen some incredible kids, 12-year-old girls build robots in the UK competing. Does the foundation have an educational program, and will you provide schools with access and support?
Yes, so definitely education is a very important piece of the ecosystem. We're building out these robotics labs already with universities around the world. But we also try to bring AI education to different parts of the world to train engineers for AI for robots. For example, we're already doing Vic AI in Vietnam, bringing in courses from Stanford and Google so that to train the engineer in Vietnam, you know, to become better at machine learning, deep learning, all of that. But another side of the whole equation is we want to make it super easy for anyone to start building on robots. So think about like mobile development, right? 10 years ago, it's actually very hard for you to write a mobile app. You know, today you can write a mobile app in 5 minutes, right? With all the development kit. And so we want to do exactly the same for robots. So with Cambria, you can, you know, download a kit, and then in 5 minutes you can start writing a Hello World robot. So that's the vision that we want to achieve.
Yeah, and to add to that, one of the things that we are sort of passionate about that we figured out along this way is how to do things really scrappily. And that's really important for schools that don't have the budget. So for example, I'll give you one example. For the PCBs in the robot, we designed them. And we went to one of the big sort of consultants in Silicon Valley who does this kind of work. We said, how much does it cost for you guys to, like, you know, go and get these boards turned around for us and made? And they said like $10,000. We said, okay, let's think about it. Then we went with our own way. We found a supplier in China who can make the boards. We learned how to pick and place and get a local assembler. And when we turned that batch of boards, for us it probably costs less than like $1,000. So it's a 10x savings. And if you add all that up, anyone can design PCBs. You don't need to be a special fab house. Anyone can print and design mechanical enclosures and hardware. we both of us are personally passionate about education and educating the next generation. I'd really like to see a Cambria educational program that gives people a degree combined mechanical, electrical, and software, because we think all the interesting robotics problems happen at that intersection. So it's not just your mechanical team separate, your electrical team, your software team, but everyone working together all the time. I think we'll be more powerful and more productive that way.
네, 질문은 저희 여기까지 받도록 하겠습니다. 다시 한번 발표해 주신 두 분께 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
Thank you everyone, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.